Oh.
Ooh, that had to hurt. Welcome back to Tethys Shipyard. I'm your host.
And I am the Yardmaster, Takeshi Yamato, and we are looking at the Royal Sovereign class Hydran starship. The biggest ship in the Hydran Navy.
Death incarnate, for lack of a better term, mostly for one reason. If you get close, if you get within, I don't know, 100,000 kilometers, its fighters are going to strip your shields and kill you.
Yep. And even without those, it has fusion cannons and a photon cannon.
The Royal Sovereign is an incredibly old starship, but has been retrofit so heavily. Originally, this used to be the flagship of the Navy, though the original ship, our HMS Royal Sovereign, has been used as the throne ship for, well, since ever.
Yeah. So, entered service date's probably going to be question marks?
2160.
2160, but retrofits to 20 as of 2270.
79. Because she's more or less been just transformed into a god carrier. And I mean god carrier.
Yeah. Quick spoiler here. We've given this thing 3 instances of expensive shuttle bays. This thing can carry an unholy amount of small craft.
Most of which are going to be Hellbore fighters, because this ship does not have Hellbores. But
yeah.
Considering her role as a fleet carrier, Hydran formations are more or less akin to U.S. carrier strike groups. One carrier, a bunch of support ships,
and more fighters than you could shake a stick at.
It will suck to be anyone fighting this thing, and it did. The Royal Sovereign and her very few sister ships actually led the strike back into the Hydran Kingdom. And the Lyrans didn't know what to do about it. They got slaughtered. Hellbores took out the ESGs and did more internal damage. Fusion cannons tore their hulls open, and they just couldn't handle the Gatling phasers.
Yeah.
Of course, after that, they needed a sponsor, and while they were very much a feudal society, who was going to be their sponsor but the United Federation of Planets?
Yeah.
Which supplied them with some of the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Of course, there is a minor problem with this. The Hydrans got a little too overconfident.
Right.
Thus, they kind of missed out on the whole battleship thing. That said, they work really well with Federation starships.
Yep.
Regardless, while the Royal Sovereign class doesn't have a modern analog in the Dominion War era, and in 2409, her spiritual successor is the much smaller, but equally as effective Atrox class.
Yep.
In fact, she has the same fighter complement.
Huh.
72 fighters.
Holy cow. That's the same size fighter wing as an Imperial Star Destroyer in Star Wars. Holy cow.
And considering these are better than any TIE, even the TIE Defender, that should say something.
Yeah.
Regardless, this
Yes.
is not a frontline vessel. All of her weapons are for point defense only. And,
Yeah.
and the stats should reflect that.
Yeah. So, starting into this, it's a scale 6 starship, massive amounts of crew, and I'm rounding up to the 2280s in terms of point distribution. So 48 plus 2 for scale 6 is 50 points. Before modifications, the initial loadout is comms 9, computers 8, engines 8, sensors 8, structure 9, weapons 8. As always, first thing is drop computers and sensors down to 7 to put extra points into comms and structure. Bring those both up to 10. Shall I drop weapons to 7 as well?
Shot!
Yeah, probably.
Alright, weapons down to 7. That point can bring engines up to 9, comms up to 11, or structure up to 11.
I almost feel sorry for that poor little frigate.
Right.
Oh, who the hell am I kidding? I guess you're assholes.
We'll put the engines up to 9. 23rd century, 10 is probably the upper limits.
No kidding, especially for a ship this big.
Right. Now, departments. Command plus 1, engineering plus 1. One more point. We could put a second point in command again.
Yeah, that's gonna have to be. Every single one of these things is better deployed alone.
Alright. Though we don't have room talent-wise for command ship, but we can just say that this thing goes with either the strategic and diplomatic operations profile or the flagship profile. Either of those have capabilities for flagships and have command ship as one of the potential profile talent options. So, speaking of Space Marine talents, as I said, 3 instances of extensive shuttle bays. Without those, it would be able to carry 5 small craft. With this, it can carry, with 3 instances of extensive shuttle bays, you can have 20 small craft active at a time. And I think 6 of those could be scale 2, like runabouts or heavy bombers or something.
Well, it's not quite up to the standards of the ship itself, but
We have engaged
Yeah.
hostile forces at this
And
location.
secondary reactors is the other talent we have given this thing for extra power gen.
after all, she's a big boat.
Yep. Now, weapons include phaser banks, fusion cannons, the photon cannon, which basically uses the same stats as the photon torpedo, but is an energy weapon, and a strength 5 tractor beam. And special rules, Gatling phasers, and our stats for the
Colony is under
rule
siege.
stats for the fusion cannon.
Hello, ISC Heavy Cruiser.
Descriptor traits, Hydran starship. Hydran starship for the basic. The descriptor trait, as always.
Work.
And any ideas for another
We
one?
have engaged hostile forces at
For
this
what? I'm
location.
sorry, I wasn't exactly paying attention. I was more
Descriptor traits.
emblem of the Hydran Kingdom. For
Alright.
obvious reasons.
Right. Emblem of the Hydran Kingdom. Alright. Well, that's it for the Royal Sovereign class, but not quite it for the Hydrans just yet. Just like the Lyrans, we're going to be converting all these things from baseline Star Trek adventures into Captain's Log.
And I suppose that's going to be a vid all on its own.
Of course. I am starting to set up a document for that now.
Well, I suppose everyone's going to be entertained by the fact that the Interstellar Concordium is going to be getting the ass kicking it richly deserves.
Yeah.
Believe me, if you knew what these people did for a living, you'd hate them almost as much as I do.
Right.
Bye-bye.